friends, this is Sharon from Mad Paper Crush. Welcome back to my channel. This is episode 2 of the Fanciful Ephemera series that I'm doing. So I wanted to do a series on making some ephemera that has surprises in it. So hidden pockets and tucks and like these, they look like plain old journal cards with some fun tag embellishment and some brads. But the secret with these is that there is a hidden note card underneath them. And there you can also write on the back of the card that flips out. So you can do them horizontal or vertical. I made this one as well. So today we're going to be making these fancy hidden journal spot cards. So I hope that you'll join me. Let's go. Okay, so for this project, you're going to need a note card to start with, and I'm going to be using my note cards from my Lighthouse digital kit, but you could certainly use anything here. You could cut up some scrapbook paper, you could just use some pattern paper, you could make a collage out of a postcard, whatever you want here. So, but this is what I'm going to use, and I think I'm probably going to use this one, but I don't know for sure yet. So I'm just going to put that aside here. And then you're also going to need, if you're doing a digital like I am, I'm going to cover the back because I want the back side of the note card to have a journaling place on it. So you can either collage that or just use, a piece of coffee dyed paper, which I'm going to do here to do that. And then also you need a base for your note card to go on. So I've just picked out this kind of matching scrapbook paper that has some writing on the other side. So that's what I'm going to use for my background paper. And then I'm using this coffee dyed index card, which will be my hidden note card piece to put under the card here. And then you'll also need some brads so that we have our swingy hinge available. So we'll be using brads to kind of do that. And then I'm going to be using some scrap fabrics just to add a tab maybe or something to it. But you don't have to do this at all. And I also will probably be sewing on here, but you don't have to do that either. And then I am probably going to be using my distress ink, which I can't find at the moment. Oh, here it is. I'm going to be using my, I think it's black soot. Ooh, making a mess. Black soot distress ink to distress the edges as I go around. So you can use whatever matches what you're working on there. And then I'll also probably be using some glue stick and probably some other glue. So have a couple kinds of glues available to do different things if you want to. And as I said, I'm going to be using my sewing machine to sew, and I'm probably going to be using my cutter as well. And I think that's all we need to get started. So let's go ahead. I forgot one thing that I wanted to mention, and it was sitting right here the whole time. I'm going to be using a hole punch, so because I want to make a hole for the brads. You could use an awl to do that, or you could use some other sort of paper piercer or something like that. You don't have to use this kind of punch thing that I'm using. It's a Making Memories hole punch, and I'm going to be using the small hole punch for the brads. So you can use whatever you want there to punch your holes in it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the top note card that's going to be our flip. So I have this note card that I printed out on some, it's not quite cardstock, but it's some heavier paper, and I'm just going to cover the back of it with this so that I have a nice place to journal on the back of this card. So to do that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of glue just to the middle because I am going to sew around the edges here. So I'm just adding enough glue to hold down my paper as I sew it on. So, all right, sorry about that. My phone cut out on me. And so what I was saying was, I know that this paper's bigger. I put just a little bit of glue on the back to hold it down while I cut off the excess here, and then I'm going to sew around the edges. Now, of course, if you don't want to sew, which you definitely don't have to, you can just glue this all the way down using tacky glue or even that glue stick all the way to the edge to glue it down well all by itself there. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do, these cards have rounded edges, so I'm going to use this rounded edge here to try and round up the edges. Since I never do a good job when I cut, I'm going to try to use my corner rounder instead of my scissors to do this. So as I put this in here, I'm just going to see that I'm hopefully getting it in here. And that made a nice round edge that matches what I have on this here. But you definitely don't need to round the edges if you don't want to. You know, depending on the look that you're going for, you don't need to do that either. So I think I got them all rounded nicely. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to distress, but I think I'm going to wait to distress until I have it sewn together, because I kind of like to do it after I have the sewing. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew a zigzag stitch all around the outside, and I'm going to do it so that I have the needle going, one side of the needle goes on the card and the other goes off to make a nice sort of bound edge that'll hold all of this together, and it won't, you know, won't be coming apart there, and it'll be one piece when I'm done. So I'll be right back to show you that. Okay, here we go, all sewn together, and I love the way that looks. I like going back and forth a little bit to make some of the stitches darker, and of course I love to leave the long ends. I don't know, just have a thing for it. So now I'm just going to distress just a little bit around the edge to make sure if there's any, you know, white edges that they're not showing anymore, you know, as we go on. So I'm just going to do this on both sides, front and back, and then we'll start on the next thing. All right, next we want to prepare the back part of the note card, which is what will hold our concealed or our hidden note card. So, or our hidden journaling spot. So what I have here is, this is just a 3.5 by 5 index card that I coffee dyed. You could just use regular paper. You can kind of use whatever you want. And then this is going to go on your backing piece, whatever you've chosen to be the backer for the note card. That's, you know, where we're going to have our hidden spot. So I've cut the scrapbook piece just about a 1/2 inch bigger lengthwise and widthwise than the note card, so that there will be sort of a border around the outside, so you can kind of see that I have that, you know, in a border here. And so then our hidden journaling spot will go underneath here. So the one thing that I want to do before I do anything else is I just want to be sure that I don't need to cut down this piece at all. So when I put it on here, I want it to be fully covered because I want it to be a hidden spot. So I don't really want there to be any indication that there's anything underneath there. So I don't have to cut it down. This can work perfectly. The only thing I need to make sure that I do is make sure I center this very good on this piece so that this can be centered and, you know, nothing's going to stick out of the edges when we move forward. So make sure your piece is cut down. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to round all the corners so that they all match. So I'm going to just go ahead and go through and do all of these corners on both pieces so that everything's round. Now that I have all of my corners rounded, I can fix this down. So you could either just glue this down. If you're not sewing, you could just put some glue stick all over the back here or some tacky glue and just center it up and glue it right down. I am also going to sew this down, so it's going to go through to this side of the paper, which I am okay with. But the other thing that you can do is you can sew it down first, and then you could add another piece of paper, you know, to the back of it if you wanted this to be another, you know, place to journal or something. But I'm okay with it not being like that for this project. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the front card. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in the center here, just so it holds while I'm, you know, working on sewing. And then I just wanted to make sure there wasn't an up and down for that. I am just going to eyeball this down on here, and this glue stick is pretty forgiving, so I have a little bit of time to move it around and make sure that I have it centered where I want it before, you know, it'll stick for me. There we go. Okay, so now that I have that where I want it, I'm just going to do a zigzag stitch once again all the way around. This time though, I am going to keep the zigzag stitch on this piece of paper. I think that if I go out to the side, that it may show, you know, somewhere around. So because the whole card underneath is hidden, I'm going to keep my zigzag on the card all the way around. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, things are coming together. So now I have my note card sewn on, and you can see the stitches on the back, but like I said, I'm okay with that. And then we're going to now attach our top card so that we have our hidden note card beneath. Now, to do that, what we have to do is decide where we want our hinge. So at what corner you want to be the hinge part. So, you know, if you want it to turn this way, we could put our hinge down at this corner. Or if you wanted it to, you know, go up, we could put it at this corner. So it just, you know, this is once again, whatever you would like to do here. So I think what I am going to do is I'm going to put it in this corner up here. So to do this now, we have to make 4 holes because we want it to look like it's just a card that has been attached with a brad down to this whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and mark and cut my holes, punch my holes first, and then we will put them on. So now, let's see. I'm just going to eyeball this. I want them to be in from the stitches so that my brads don't, you know, or the holes don't go through the stitching that I have. And I'm just kind of eyeballing, you know, you could certainly line these up if you wanted to make sure they were exactly where you wanted them to be, but I'm not going to do that. So then the next step is to make your holes. So I'm just going to go around and make all 4 of these holes right on the marks that I just made. Okay, I have my holes made, and I just changed my mind, which, you know, everybody has a right to do, right? I decided that I think I want this corner to be my swing corner. So when we attach it, I want it to go this way. So I'm going to make this hole up in the upper right-hand corner be the one that's attaching the whole thing. So now the reason you have to know that beforehand is because we do have to make 1 hole that goes through our back piece to attach it to. So the other 3 holes will just have brads in them that just go through this one piece, and the other one will have a brad that goes through the whole thing to make our little swing hinge. So what I'm going to do to make that hole, now that I've decided where I wanted it, is I'm going to put this card right exactly where I want it, and then I'm just going to, actually I think I'm just going to, since there's a hole already there, I'm just going to line up my punch, and I'm going to punch through there. So now when I put my brad in, which I will do right now, you'll be able to see that this is what holds the piece together, making it look like it's one card. But this will be where it will swing. So now you can add your other brads. Whoa, I only need 3 more, not 17. To the other holes, but when you do that, there aren't any holes in the bottom piece. So these brads will just go right through our top card. If I can hold them in place. All right, 3rd time's a charm, right? I'm sure I can, nope, maybe not. 4th time, let's see. There we go. I think I got it now, friends. Okay. So the other 3 will just go through this one so that that gives us our hidden look to this. So I'm going to go ahead and put these other 2 in. And now you can see it's almost done. The only other thing that I'm going to do is I am going to distress the edges of this outside piece, since when I cut it, you know, it shows the white underneath, and I really don't want it to kind of have that white look on the edges. So I'm just going to, whoops, cover that up. And this fanciful ephemera will be almost done. So once again, if you wanted to, now you could add another, sorry, you could add another piece of paper to the back here to have another place to journal if you wanted to, but you don't have to. So you could finish it just like this, or we could add some scrap fabric to this as well. So I think I'm going to add some of this blue scrap fabric as a little tab on the side. I think that would look fun. So what I'm going to do is, this is already torn on 3 sides, but I need to tear it on this 4th side. So I'm going to try to do that. Sometimes it's hard to tear, you know, just a small piece off, but we'll see. Ooh, no problem. All right, and then this, and then I'll tear another little piece so that I can make it into a tab. So I'm just folding it over, kind of guesstimating how long I want it to be, since it is going to go across the front and the back. And then I'll do one more tear. So you just, to tear fabric, in case you've never done that, you just cut a little notch in there, and then you just hold tight and give it a tear. And then you have a beautiful torn edge that I love having the torn edges. So now what I'm going to do, since this is swingy, and actually now that I look at it, maybe I want this to go on the top. That might be fun. So it kind of looks like a little tag maybe. So let's see, I could definitely do that. Yeah, I think I like it. I think I like it on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little stitch over top of my other stitch here that I've already kind of have in place. So I'm just going to fold that over the front and the back, and then I'm just going to do a little zigzag stitch right here just to hold it down in place for me. And I'm going to try to make sure it's centered. So you could definitely do this before you put this on, or I could just take this brad off, and maybe that's what I'll do. I'm going to take this brad off for a moment so that it's not in the way when I try to sew. I get so excited and I want to finish these pieces because I love them so much that sometimes, you know, I haven't added all the embellishments. So I'll be right back, and I'm going to sew this on and we'll see how it looks. Just a quick little tip. What you can do, if you can definitely put a little strip of glue here, but if you're worried about your sewing machine going through glue, you can just take like a little, you know, because I want to make sure I hold it on the back and the front here. So I can use a little binder clip to hold it together before I sew to make sure it stays on. Or you could even use a just like a flat paper clip, which in this case might work a little bit better to hold it on before you sew it. So you can just kind of put it on here and hold the other with your finger so that you can make sure this piece on the back stays put when you start. So what I'm going to do is I will put this under my sewing machine, under my presser foot, and I'll start sewing, and then I'll just pull this off once I get it started so I know that everything stays in place. Okay, I have my little tab sewn on. I love the way that's looking. It's a very seaside feel to it, the sort of that ocean blue or that teal blue color. And I just put my brad back on, and here it is, my hidden note card with a flip. And you could even write on the back here if you wanted to as well. So there you have it. And here's another one that I made. That's a different direction there. And this one flips up this way. And this one flips up this way. And there you have it, friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, I hope that you will hit that subscribe button. I try to put out new videos just about once a week. And I try to make all kinds of fun stuff and hopefully inspire you to create something yourself. So thanks so much for watching, friends. I will see you in the next video. Take care.